Hey, greetings everybody, Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On this one, we're going to finish off the first chapter of 3rd Chronicles. On the last one, we kind of just talked about this, really kind of what's the setup for Warcraft 3, and I've done some peeking, I've kind of been glancing through some synopses of Warcraft 3, just peeked around, looked at some of the lore, and so it does seem that this buildup is important because basically what I'm reading is that the premise of Warcraft 3 is that this whole time orcs and humans have been fighting each other, but now they have a common enemy in the Lich King and his plague that he wants to do. And I think there's multiple campaigns, and we get the Night Elves and we get the Forsaken added into the fold here. I actually, just looking at some screenshots of the game, it looked even like Pandaria. Like there were some Pandaren in some of the missions, and maybe some Tauren too. So I think a lot of our races, I also think, come into play. And I think this is also where Kalimdor starts to come in. So I think this is huge lore-wise for setting up what will become the World of Warcraft. So stay a while and listen to this one. It's called Frost and Shadow. I don't know. Let's see. In Northrend, the Lich King brooded over his enslavement. He dreamed of a day when he would make the undead his servants and turn them against the Legion. Yet the time for that was not right. The plague had only begun to take root in Lordaeron. For now, the Lich King focused his attention on other things. Trapped in the frozen throne, he needed a way to extend his will to the outside world. He had full control over undead creatures, but their strength came in numbers. Individually, they were weak, mindless things. There was Kel'Thuzad, but the Necromancer served a very specific purpose, leading the cult of the damned. The Lich King sought something else, something more. A mighty champion who would act as his direct surrogate beyond the frozen throne. And I guess the cult of the damned is like the living, non-undead, corrupt arm of the Lich King, of the Scourge. The Lich King did not yet know who this surrogate would be, but he did know how he would create his servant. The key lay within his icy prison, Frostmourne. It was a fearsome weapon capable of consuming souls. If someone were to take up the blade, it would shackle them to the Lich King's will. So this is probably where Arthas and how he becomes the Lich King comes into play, that's my guess. Yet the Dreadlords would never allow the Lich King to create this new servant on his own. He had to make the demons believe it was in the Legion's best interests. Over the years, the Lich King had discovered what the Dreadlords feared most: kill Jaden. If the plague failed, the Demon Lord would punish them. The Lich King used this knowledge to his advantage. He played on the Dreadlords' fears and gradually convinced them that finding other mortal champions like Kel'Thuzad was the key to victory. The Lich King's overtures were subtle and strategic. He made the demons believe that locating a new servant and arming them with Frostmourne was their idea. Only Kel'Thuzad was privy to the Lich King's true intentions. The entity had revealed to the Necromancer that the Legion was behind the plague of undeath, but Kel'Thuzad remained firm in his allegiance. He secretly promised to rebel against the demons in the future, so he has allegiance not to the overall concept, but I guess to the Lich King, although from the short story we read, this is an allegiance born of fear. Well, and some power-mongering a little bit. With the Dreadlord's approval, the Lich King moved forward with his plan. He channeled his power within the frozen throne and broke away a chunk of ice containing Frostmourne. The blade fell to the base of Ice-Crown Glacier, where it would await its victim. All that remained was for the Lich King to find him. Yeah, so this is... And if you play Northrend quests, my wife and I have been doing some, like, just going back, doing Lore Master with each other for fun, and... in these, we're on Wrath of the Lich King right now, and you do have a storyline where you see the finding of Frostmourne by Arthas and Muradin. You do see the Cult of the Damned and what they represent. So there's a lot of cool things which we'll go through together on film too. All right, we also have the map in basically its current day form. This is the lands of Azeroth before the Third War, and let's look, there's very little that's actually different from where we are now. So we have Mount Hyjal, and we've talked, that's important because this is the portal through which the Burning Legion is going to try to launch its assault. And anybody that played World of Warcraft in the beginning could probably remember a long period of time through the first 3 expansions where you could not act. This was dead land. You could not get there. There was no going there. There's Encourage, so that's the first raid. I don't know what that C is. I don't remember which one. Tanaris. So Tanaris is important, I guess. Goblins live there. That's where the Caverns of Time are. This is the land of Kalimdor. I wonder if Tanaris is mentioned. Encourage is just important because we know that's where the old ones are going to start to infect Kalimdor. The Maelstrom is the remnants from the War of the Ancients, the original Well of Eternity. I don't know what these little islands are. Maybe this is... up here, these are the Draenor Islands, Blood Mist Isle and Azure Mist Isle. That's where the Draenei eventually land. Actually, that's these right here. This is Darnassus. That's where Darnassus is. So that's the Night Elf capital, this little island. Not 100% sure. One of these is probably the Goblin, Kazan. So Pandaria, I just thought they were almost retconning Pandaria in, but if the Pandaren exist in Warcraft 3, and again, that might have been a mod I saw, but if that's true, then that's big deal. I don't know what this island is, not 100% sure. This is the Wandering Isle, so I'm wondering if that's retconned in. Yeah, we have Northrend, Icecrown Citadel, that's where the Lich King we were just talking about sitting. Azjol Nerib is where the old gods are starting to infect Northrend, and it's Wormrest Temple we've talked about. Ulduar is up there, that's where the Titan history is. We have the North Sea. The Broken Isles are mentioned. This is where Legion come from. That's because that's where this book is written. We know the Tomb of Sargeras is there. That's off of the Broken Shore. So these Broken Isles, that's a little... those lands and what they represent, I feel like that's a little retconning. This is the Great Sea, Kultiras. But look, what we don't have is Zandalar. So this is before BFA. So the fact that Zandalar exists in some form, they shuffle this map around a little bit. So up here, this is where almost everything has been happening so far in the Eastern Kingdoms. We have the Forbidden Sea. Then to the south, there's not a lot going on down there. We know that the trolls hold that land. Blackrock Mountain is where the orcs were centered. Stormwind City were the humans. Gnormorgan, Ironforge, those are parts of the Alliance, and they still stay. Grimbatal is where we did Day of the Dragon. And so that's an orcish bastion, or it was where the last of the dragons were. That's the sea they crossed between the First and Second Wars. There's Gilneas, which is now walled off. They want nothing to do with anyone. Durnhold Keep is where we just read about. This is where Thrall escaped, and this is where the heart of the internment camps were. Alterac Mountains were where it's important because that's where the Frostwolves were. Lordaeron is the main kingdom, but we already know Kel'Thuzad has gone into Anderhall and Scallamance in that region, and he's working on the plague, and he's been affecting this whole region. Quel'Thalas has long been the home of the High Elves and the Amani Empire, so the Troll-Elf battle, we know that Quel'Thalas is, I think, in Warcraft 3 also going to turn to Blood Elves. So we have a lot of things that are going to happen in Warcraft 3 that actually set up World of Warcraft way more than I just gave it credit for. So that's really cool. All right, we got another episode in the pipe, 5x5. I thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I will see everyone next time on Lore of Warcraft.